BYUtv dual threat analyst and newly anointed dancealist, Blaine Fowler, joining us after a trip to Florida. Blaine, welcome back to the show, man. How was Florida?
Oh man, it was fun. It was really fun. So, if you guys, we need to go cover this next year. Like we go down and do a remote like we do when we're, if we're going to the Michigan or the Nebraska game for football. We need to go have a studio down there and cover it. It's like intense.
Sounds good to me.
I won't say no to Florida in April.
In the hip hop finals, I sat next to Tom Holmoe, and him and I just the two of us just kept looking at each other like, this is intense, dude. It took us back to our playing days. It's just we were more nervous watching them than we were when we were playing.
Wow.
So, yeah, and I'll tell you, there weren't a lot of athletic directors there supporting their collegiate dance teams, but Tom Holmoe, unbelievable that he had been basically gone for a month with his responsibilities on the NCAA selection committee and at the Final Four. He came straight down to Daytona to support what is his most dominant program, and was there for the Cougarettes the whole time that they were there supporting him.
Okay.
And you can just go watch him perform. Like, he went to all of their 3-hour practices when they're cleaning things up. He was with them the whole time supporting them there. That's an amazing thing for an AD.
I saw Tom Holmoe climb a fence in Houston, Texas, outside of NRG Stadium with the Cougarettes watching, and they were cheering him on. Now I understand the dynamic of that relationship.
Oh, they love him. He's been so supportive of them. And I'll tell you what, his excitement about them and his trust in them, they went down and they won 2 more national championships this year, because they compete in 2 different categories. They compete in open dance, which is, it's like jazz, very flowing, very artistic, very, something you might see at Odyssey Dance Company or something like that. And then they turn around, they win that. Then the next day are preliminaries for hip-hop. So then they just completely change face and become this hard-hitting, like, inner-city dance crew.
Wait, this is BYU.
This is BYU. And that's what people don't get it. To be able to win both of those categories is very rare. So to win a dual national championship in a single year, and to be able to transform from this beautiful, artistic, dance company, then turn into a hip-hop company the next day and dominate in that, it's just unheard of. And everybody just watches it and goes, how do those girls from Utah, those little Mormon girls from Utah, transform themselves and become this hard-hitting hip-hop crew the next day and dominate in that category too? So they won both categories this year. And now they're bringing back, they brought back yesterday 2 gigantic national championship trophies to put in the trophy case.
We need to get one of those in Studio B, man.
Yeah. Oh, yes. That would be fun.
They have plenty to go around.
Oh, yeah. That was their 14th and 15th national championships. And what's funny? I told you guys this last week, but now it's even more evident as I was down there another year with them. But the other dance teams, I was downstairs in the hotel I was in, walking down the hall, and Iowa State's team was in the computer room in our hotel. And the captain of Iowa State stuck her head out and said, hey, come in here. We're going to watch BYU. And I thought they were talking to me. I'm going, what? But they were talking to 2 of their teammates behind me. And I said, hey, wait a minute. What? Are you watching all the teams? They go, no, we just watch BYU. We're just watching their 2 routines. It's ridiculous. And they said, that's what we aspire to be. We want to be as good as BYU someday, but I don't know if we can ever get there. And they were sitting down as a team to watch BYU's 2 routines, to look at them. And I said, hey, well, I want to watch with you guys. So I went in and watched. And then afterwards they said, are all of the girls on BYU's team Mormon? And I said, I think most of them are. I don't know for sure, but I think they are. And they go, is everybody at BYU Mormon? And I said, oh, high percentage, but there's a lot of students that are not, that just have good values that go to BYU. And they go, well, that explains it then. BYU just gets all the good Mormon dancers. I bet Notre Dame doesn't get all the good Catholic dancers. No wonder they dominate.
Because there's so many of us.
Yeah. So it's really fun to be down there because all of the other teams look up to them. And their big rival in this is Louisville. So Louisville has an outstanding program. And they
take that, Patino.
Yeah, Patino, he loves.
Take that women's basketball team after that.
I know.
Knock.
Cheap shot on McKenzie.
But that's their biggest competition. But in their category, in both categories, Missouri, Texas Tech, Iowa State, Duke, North Carolina, Florida State, Tennessee. I mean, you name it. It's like the who's who of college football that competes in this thing. So we're talking about universities with big budgets, with a lot of resources that BYU just dominates. And when I was sitting there with Tom, I thought, man, wouldn't that be nice if we could be in this position as a university in football or basketball?
Oh, man.
We were the dominant program, because really BYU is the dominant program in collegiate dance, and they just prove it year after year. So it was fun. I enjoyed my stint as a dancealist. I really enjoyed it.
Clearly, you excel at that position.
And no one breaks down the Cougarettes like BYU Sports Nation. Let's talk hoops a little bit. Dave Rose met with local media members yesterday. Some news and notes came out. Why do you feel BYU will be better next year, Blaine? Or do you?
I actually do think they'll be better. And we talked about this at the end of the season. I said this is the worst they're going to be up front. I think some people said, "Oh, wait a minute, are you telling me with Kyle Collinsworth and with Tyler Haws on the same team that we're going to be better next year?" And I actually believe we'll be so much more balanced. Remember, Kyle is back, and he's going to be a year better and a year stronger. A ridiculous athlete out on that guard line. Chase Fisher is back. I think he's going to be better and more consistent. But what gets me really excited is the guys we're going to plug in to that front line. I'm talking about guys like Kyle Davis. And now you guys have to tell me every time, is it Eights or Eights?
Eights.
Eights.
Okay, I got to remember that.
The letter 8. Or the letter 8. The number 8.
When we saw him early before his injury, he's a post presence that can score down there. He can face up. He's got quickness. He's explosive. Kyle Davis is a rebounding machine that's very skilled inside. And you guys were already talking about this before I came on. But Corbin Kaufusi is now going to be another year removed from not playing basketball for 3 years, and I would expect him to be an elite player in the league. So, add to that guys that have experience.
Did you just say the word elite?
Yes, he'll be one of the elite post players in the league.
I love it. I love it, Blaine.
Just checking.
And so you add those two. You add Davis and Eights to the mix up there. You add the experience that we got with the other big guys. There's a lot of young big guys. That Nate Austin coming back who knows how to defend. All of a sudden, BYU becomes a team that can throw multiple bodies at you on the front line, that has some fouls to give, that has a scoring presence inside, has a point guard that can break any defense down, and a shooter on the perimeter that can knock down shots. Oh, and let's add a couple of return missionaries to that in Emery that can shoot lights out on the outside. And I'm going, is BYU going to be better? I absolutely believe they're going to be better.
Okay, how about this, Blaine? If Karnowski and Wilcher go early to the NBA draft, will BYU win the West Coast Conference?
If Wilcher and Karnowski go, then absolutely I think BYU wins it.
Because then they replace their whole starting 5.
Yeah, if they come back, that's still a pretty dominating inside presence.
Yeah.
We've heard that Sabonis has made the decision that he's coming back. Is he a great-looking 18-year-old or what?
Man, he's a beast. Kid? He's a beast.
He just turned 18 just a few months ago.
He should go on a mission.
He's got an NBA
just get out of here
right
for 2
now.
years.
So, but if they have Sabonis and they also get Dranginis is coming back this year, so he's a good guy that's come off the bench and played, and they also get back Wilcher, who's a phenomenal player, big time NBA guy, and Karnowski. If they get all those guys back, now it's a battle. But I do think that BYU's better equipped with the size inside to compete with that now next year. And it will be a battle. And I don't rule out that BYU wins the conference title next year anyhow. But if those guys go, then I think BYU becomes the favorite for the conference next year.
Blaine Fowler, BYUtv dual-threat analyst, basketball, football. I should call him a tri-threat analyst now. Because
I'm a dancealist also.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Joining us on BYU Sports Nation, Tyler Haws, the all-time leading scorer in BYU basketball history, now getting ready for what he hopes will be a shot in the NBA. Several teams apparently are reaching out to him from Europe, and that's no surprise. He's a pure scorer. The dude can play. His work ethic is unbelievable. But, Blaine, what do you think of Tyler's chances to find a spot on an NBA roster?
Well, here's what NBA teams will love about Tyler. Unbelievable work ethic. I mean, that's been established throughout his career, and in a very coachable mentality. So if they come to him and say, hey, listen, we want to see your ball handling skills. We want you to be a better ball handler than you've had to be. You've run off a lot of screens, but we want to see you be able to take people off the dribble. He's the kind of guy that, okay, whatever you want, I will do, and I will get better in that area. Everybody from last year to this year said, well, we'd really like to see his range increase because if he's going to play in the NBA, we'd like to see that range out to 3 a little more comfortably. And I think he answered those questions in a big way. His three-point shooting was outstanding this year. And so I think we'll see him to continue to get better. And I think NBA teams want to see his ability to handle the basketball, to take people off the dribble and create his own shot that way. So do I think he's a no-miss guy in the NBA? Well, nobody's a no-miss guy in the NBA. Well, there's a handful of guys, 2 or 3 guys a year that are no-miss guys. Do I think he has the ability to make it? I think based on his work ethic and coachability alone, you know what? Teams need a good guy on their team, too, that they don't have to worry about. I think he has a shot. Certainly in Europe, he can be a star. Can he make it in the NBA? I don't know. That's just such a hard thing. I mean, Jimmer's having a struggle to make it, but I think that Tyler has a great shot because of the things we just talked about.
Blaine Fowler with us on BYU Sports Nation. We'll end with this, Blaine. We spoke with new Director of Player Personnel and On-Campus Recruiting Coordinator Justin Anderson of BYU football yesterday. He talked about the number one priority in his job right now being to win the state of Utah in recruiting. Now, with BYU's national appeal and how they've branched out recently in recruiting, where do you rank in-state recruiting?
I think you have to dominate that. I think it should be number one. And then, yeah, they do recruit nationally, but now the national programs are coming into Utah and taking kids away. And we're talking about USC. We're talking about Oregon. We're talking about Oregon State, Stanford. You know, the difference between being a top 35 team and being a top 15 team is really only 4 or 5 players. So if BYU can get a corner on the market on some of those kids that are deciding that they got to go play at Oregon to have the 37 different uniform combinations or whatever it is, or they got to go down to USC because of its history, they've got to be able to convince those kids that if you come here, BYU can become competitive with USC and Oregon. They can play in New Year's Six bowl games, and your opportunity to go to the NFL is just as high here, if not better than it is there. That's the message that has to get out, because if they get those 4 or 5 kids that they're losing, now BYU is competing to be in a New Year's Six. So I think it's the number one priority, absolutely the number one priority. And the talent in the state of Utah is so much better than it ever has been in football. So they've got to tap into that. They can't afford to lose people going out.
Blaine, great stuff. Great to talk to you. Congratulations to your daughter on another national championship with the Cougarettes, and for all the Cougarettes for that matter. We'll talk to you again soon, I'm sure.
All right, guys. Thanks.